but her beauty. Like we were just saying, Google a picture of Sherry.
Yeah.
You'll be in awe. She was gorgeous. And they had a lot in common, too. They were interested in the same things. They both loved running. Their lives really matched up with one another. And of course, their relationship had its hiccups, which we will definitely get into. But by all accounts, the two of them were really happy and overall loved each other. But the morning of February 24th, 1986 would change absolutely everything. So John was headed into work that morning, while Sherry debated whether or not she was going to go in, because that morning she'd been called in to supervise a human resources class for the nurses, and she just really didn't feel like going in.
Okay.
You know, just it wasn't for her that day.
Man.
You know, you wake up and you're like, fuck this.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a you day.
Ugh, and
Mental
you know
health
what?
day.
Take those days.
Self-care, man.
Self-care. Don't take too many of those days
don't
because
take
you'll
too
lose your
many.
job.
Yeah.
But take a couple of those days every now and again.
You deserve that day.
You certainly do. But John said, he was like, I don't know, I think you should just go in and get it over with. Like, you know, let's just get it done with. And with those few words of advice, he was off to start his own day. He had some dry cleaning to drop off before work, and then he was heading right into work. So he left the townhouse that they owned together around 7:20 in the morning. Now later that morning, he called home to see if Sherry had gone in or not. And when he didn't get an answer, he assumed that she must have gone into work. So he called her office, but he was told by her secretary that she actually hadn't seen Sherry in the office that day. So you might think that's weird. I thought that was a little weird when I first read that, like her secretary didn't see her. But this wasn't super weird to John or Sherry's secretary, because this day was a Monday, which meant that Sherry would actually spend her day going along to teach different classes.
Okay.
So it wasn't unlike her secretary to not see her on a Monday. It was a busy day for
Because
her.
she was just kind of bopping around.
Exactly. So John just figured that in the hectic going-ons, that Sherry's secretary had just missed her. So he tried her at home a couple more times that day, and he didn't get any answer, which did make him slightly nervous, but at the time he didn't want to overreact. Maybe she'd just gone out to run errands after work, something like that.
Everybody's been there where you're like, I'm not going to go straight to the worst case scenario because I don't want to.
But it is in the very back of my mind.
Always.
So John got home later that night, and things were off when he pulled up to their garage. The garage door was left open, which was weird in and of itself. And what was stranger was that Sherry's BMW that he'd gifted her after they got engaged was gone. So for a second, John rationalized that, you know, she's just off running errands. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
But then he saw broken glass scattered upon the driveway. And would later realize that their balcony door on the second floor of the townhouse had been smashed to pieces. And that's what this glass was for. And as for the door leading into the home, wide open. Something was very off here, and there was nothing left to rationalize.
Oh, what a scary, scene to come home to.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
So John entered the home cautiously, and he immediately found his wife, 29-year-old Sherry Rasmussen, laying dead on the living room floor.
Aw, Sherry.
She was still dressed in the oversized t-shirt that she'd gone to sleep in the night before, and she was wearing a robe that she usually wore when she was kind of bopping about in the morning getting ready for her day. Her arms were raised up slightly, like she'd been in defense mode up until the last second, and one of her legs was slightly bent at the knee. Her face showed very obvious signs of a very intense beating, like insane. And John also saw evidence of at least one gunshot wound to her chest, which was in the center of her chest.
Oh my God.
It would later be revealed that she was shot 3 times in the chest. When John reached out to touch her, she was already cold, and when he checked for any other signs of life, there were none. So he raced to the phone and he dialed 911. Now, it was immediately clear that the LAPD wanted to write this crime off as some kind of home invasion gone wrong.
Huh.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, no, I've never heard them say things like that.
Yeah, even last week it wasn't a home invasion gone wrong.
And especially in the 80s, you never heard them getting anything wrong.
No, never.
They were on top of everything.
Spoiler alert, this is not a home invasion gone wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Not a lot about that.
No.
Looks like a home invasion gone wrong.
That's the
It would have gone very wrong. Even like the beating and the shots to the
And we're gonna get into how none of that really makes sense. But there had been other burglaries in the area, and the culprit hadn't been caught yet. So the investigators, they kind of looked about the scene, and they realized that this was a home invasion. They said they believed that the home was broken into by 2 men, and Sherry caught them off guard by being home, at which point they became violent with her and shot her to death. Sherry's murder was one of 831 reported homicides in LA that year.
Wow.
And we know what happens when certain places have too much of a caseload.
Yep.
Important details fall by the wayside, and that is exactly what happened here. Sherry's case would promptly be placed on the back burner for the remainder of the 80s and the 90s.
That's wild.
And it would remain a cold case until 2009.
Wow.
Almost 22 years later, when new investigators finally gave it the attention it deserved all along. Now, ultimately, Sherry's killer would be put away for good, even though said killer was one of the LAPD's very own.
What?
Yup. But before we get to the conclusion, we've got to get to the nitty-gritty in the middle and the initial quote-unquote investigation. So Detective Lyle Mayer was the homicide detective initially assigned to Sherry's case, and he arrived immediately to survey the scene. He noted that it looked like Sherry had been badly beaten to the face. It really wouldn't take a professional to do so,
Yeah.
but he did. And he said that it seemed like she was struck with some kind of heavy object above her right eye.
Oh.
There was also a very intense and very human bite mark inside her left forearm.
What?
Yeah.
Home invasion, right?
All
Holy
burglars
shit.
bite their victims, right?
What the fuck? They saw a bite mark and said this is a home invasion?
Yes.
Wow.
Like, absolutely wild.
Okay.
Not only that, she'd also been shot in the chest 3 times.
Yeah.
That's a lot of times for a home invasion. And they could determine that she'd been shot with a .38 caliber pistol. That was the cause of death. Around 2 of the bullet holes, there were contact wounds.
Ooh, so it was close.
Yep, exactly, meaning that those shots must have been fired at point-blank range. Excuse me.
You're
And
not excused.
I wanna be. And when he saw a pink and green quilt on a nearby chair with a bullet hole through the middle of it, the detective realized what had happened here. Whoever this was must have shot Sherry once, but then worried about noise from the gunshot and used the blanket to muffle the 2 shots that were fired at point blank range.
Wow, that's really spooky.
Firing through her blanket. Oh, her pink and green.
And to just like make that decision too, that's just such a, I hate when, like, it's those kinds of very blatant thought out decisions during these kind of acts that you're like, wow.
And I'm happy that you said those couple of words, blatant and thought out.
Yeah.
That's not a home invasion.
No.
Thought out, like,
No.
you're saying that she was, like, she caught these people off guard, but then they
Yeah.
thought that out? No, that
just
doesn't make
seems,
sense.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
No. So looking around the townhouse, Detective Mayer saw that the place had been absolutely trashed. But it wasn't, like, ransacked. It looked like this was, like, a violent struggle. There was a huge stereo speaker lying overturned on the floor with the wires torn out. And the remainder of the bed was where it should be. So these had been overturned. A vase had been smashed on the floor. Wooden shelving from the cabinets had been pulled down off of the cabinets. Jesus. And the television amplifier and receiver had both been knocked over and were hanging from the TV.
Huh.
No ads, no ads.
That feature, because then you don't have to share your code with everybody. You just be like, hey, you left the house? Okay, it's not our money. You can also access your cameras from anywhere. If you're on vacation, you want to see what's up at home, check it out. Or adjust any of your system settings. Do not miss out on your chance for massive savings on my favorite security system. Get 50% off any new system at simplysafe.com/morbid today. This is their biggest discount of the year. That's simplysafe.com/morbid. There's no safe like Simply Safe. You do not ride an elevator for the music, I hope, or pick an airline for the movies, I especially hope. So when it comes to audio entertainment, it makes sense to choose Audible. It's the home for stories told by the biggest stars like Ethan Hawke, Kerry Washington, and Kevin Hart. It's home to epic adventures, chilling mysteries, which I'm working on right now, and can't miss comedies. Audible is the home of storytelling. Let your imagination soar with audiobooks, podcasts, and originals. I absolutely love just like getting in the car and just
away from my day and letting my imagination run wild. Usually I really, really love to listen to like a celebrity memoir. I think it's just like my thing. But I've been seeing so many people reading this book, Verity. It's by Colleen Hoover. And I've seen it everywhere. And I'm like, oh, I want to read that, but I have no time. And then I was like, ooh, is it on Audible? And it is. So if you are like me and you've wanted to read that or anything else and you didn't have time, check and see if it's on Audible. Audible is the home of storytelling with all your audio entertainment in one app. Find the best of what you love or something new to discover. Audible has an incredible selection of audiobooks across every genre.
To the ad.
All along the wall leading up to the stairs. And like I said, one of the glass doors that was on the second floor, which led out to the second floor balcony, had been completely smashed out.
Yeah.
So after
The scene is like not making sense.
not at all.
And why are all these electronics left?
Right. If this is a home invasion gone wrong, they didn't even carry one of those things out, not even the CD player.
Yeah, like you think they grabbed something.
Yeah. Anything, especially if it's right by the stairs.
And if you're gonna like kill this woman during a home invasion, you're going to steal things.
reminds
That's
me.
the whole point.
Exactly.
You came in here to steal things.
Exactly.
You killed her so that you can continue to steal things.
So after taking in the scenes the scene and taking notes, Detective Mayer wanted to sit down with John to talk about the morning before he left and what he saw and did when he first got home and discovered Sherry's body. Essentially, he was trying to rule John out as a suspect because, as we all know, 9 out of 10 times, the husband did it, TM. Detective Mayer, though, was actually able to rule John out as a suspect pretty quickly.
Wow.
He's not a police officer. So it wasn't John.
Okay, alright, good. So we all love John.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. No, well, that. We love one John.
We love you.
Yeah, we love you, John.
So it was clear that this John was absolutely distraught, and he described Sherry and his marriage to her by saying that they were having the best time. Like, they loved being married.
That's sad.
To Mayer, it didn't seem like an act. He felt like this was genuine.
Okay.
So he told John, and this is a direct quote, "I believe your house was burglarized today sometime before 10 a.m. He then said that there were no signs of a forced entry, which led him to believe that the killer or killers had simply traced into the house to find valuables inside. He presumed that while one of the home invaders went around unplugging
Bro, I got
electronics
one
from the
solo.
walls,
Come back. Come get it.
went upstairs and was met by Sherry, who probably came out of the bedroom and was caught off guard. He then said that Sherry either ran from or traced the intruder to the dining room, and that's
I think I'll get it done today.
It's the our starter guy. He's the guy that left when I was. Hey, anybody got a mic?
No, I don't have a mic. You?
You got a mic? How do you talk without a mic and I can hear you?
I don't know. But do you have a mic?
Retard.
It's not a nice word. You shouldn't be saying that.
I won't say that anymore. I want to see if you're good. I'm not even playing. Wait, which one are you?
Like, he's really not gonna play.
I see. Whip that out. Do you play football? Huh?
I hear him. I just
Talk.
need to concentrate. No, I
Into
need
your
to
mic.
concentrate.
You play football.
You know what?
Hey, y'all want to hear a few words? Well, they're not really words. Chance, if you die here, you die by like a sumo bumble. Hey, you said I can't say that. You just. Hold me.
Dang, you let him finish me like that? Crazy. Oh, you're dead.
So what is this? Bro, MWC underscore Duber. My friend said yours combo is no.
Yes.
Where the first shot was fired. Nair thought that the shot must have gone through Sherry's body, which shattered the glass door behind her.
Oh, okay. I was wondering that one. So that makes sense, I guess.
And at that moment, when the other intruder heard the shots, they got startled and left. Which was why the electronics were still stacked by the stairs, he said.
Okay.
Maybe. Then Sherry ran downstairs from the remaining intruder, which accounted for the blood smeared along the wall going down the stairs. But you're also leading me to believe that she'd been shot through the chest and then ran down the stairs.
Yeah.
I don't really know about that. I mean, crazier things have happened,
Yeah.
but that's a lot to assume.
Feels like a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
But I see like the other pieces a little bit.
I do see the other pieces slightly. And then she was met with the killer in the living room, where they hit her over the head with the vase, which is why the vase was smashed. and then grabbed the quilt lying nearby and used it to quietly shoot her 2 more times.
But I was like, no way.
Then
I
they
didn't
got
think
out of
it-
there using
that
Sherry's
many views. I was
BMW
really
and
expecting
abandoned the plan
maybe
to rob the
2
house in the first place.
Man, if that's what happened, that is really brutal.
And
Like a really brutal home invasion.
that's a lot to assume from just walking around for
Yeah.
a little while.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know exactly how long it took him to survey the scene, but that's a lot to conclude after
Oh my
being
god, I'm
there
gonna get. Oh,
for less than a day.
Yeah,
You know?
but
And by the way, Sherry's car would be found later parked down the street with the key still inside. That, Detective Mayer said, was why nothing else was missing. But he was wrong there, because one thing other than Sherry's BMW was missing. Her and John's marriage certificate.
what?
Yes.
Okay.
But for some reason, that was left out of the original notes on the case, along with a few other details.
That's strange as fuck.
Now, satisfied that this was the case, Detective Mayer headed out, and the criminologist for the LA County Coroner's Office came to the scene to examine the body. This man was Lloyd Mahaney, and he arrived around 2 a.m. And luckily, he did a very thorough investigation. He found that there were multiple abrasions and contusions to Sherry's face. To him, it seemed like she'd been in a fist fight, and there was a large cut open just above her right eye. But he felt like something other than a fist had created
Are we
that
gonna
cut.
win this game or what?
He surmised that she may have been struck in the face with the gun that actually shot
yeah.
her. He also saw abrasions on her arms close by to her wrists, and to him, it seemed like she'd actually been tied up at some point with some kind of rope or cord.
Ooh, this gets worse and worse.
And then this is a lot, just so you know. He discovered that 2
Oh, wait,
fingernails were missing
oh,
from one of her hands, and later discovered them by the front door. This was a brutal attack. Now, he believed that the initial gunshot wound is very...
Sorry, I sneezed in the background, but I tried to cover it, everybody.
Okay, bless you, bless you. Now, he believed that the initial gunshot wound is very likely what killed Sherry, but he did also admit that it could have been the other 2. He didn't know.
Okay.
Now, one shot had gone completely through her body, like I said, the one that shattered the glass door behind her, presumably. And the other 2 struck through her heart and lungs, and then became lodged in her chest and
What?
spine.
Oh.
Now,
Oh, this poor woman.
she went through the most brutal attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, her body was checked for any trace evidence like hair, dirt, fibers, anything that might have been connected to the killer, but there wasn't much, unfortunately. She didn't seem to be sexually assaulted, but erring on the side of caution and wanting to be as thorough as possible, he did do a rape kit and a number of swabs and included all of them within his report. This guy was not fucking
I was gonna
around.
say, this coroner was on it.
He was. He also finally measured and photographed the bite mark on Sherry's arm and swabbed the injury.
Wow, look at this guy doing his job.
I'm saying. Noted the time and date of the collection after placing the swab into a sealed tube, initialed it, and added it to the physical evidence. He noted that there was very little any of the wound, which led him to believe that this was likely inflicted before she died. Almost like a final like fuck.
That
coming
is,
to you.
I don't know.
Personal.
That's so personal. It's so degrading.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like, ugh.
Absolutely. So this examination took 4 hours. This man was thorough. And after those 4 hours, Mahaney drove the evidence and his report down to the coroner's office, having no idea that in due time, much of this hard work would be
Stop
lost,
it.
quote
Are you
unquote.
fucking kidding me?
Just lost.
He spent 4 hours collecting things that should have already been collected.
Yep.
Wow.
And then it was
Okay.
quote unquote lost. But don't worry, it does become found.
Okay, good.
So after reviewing Mahaney's report and going over his own notes, Detective Mayer also couldn't shake the feeling that something about this case was personal. He still leaned on the air of this was a home invasion, but
What home
Also-
invasion ends with someone fighting someone? That's wild to me.
he said that the level of violence and brutality was unlike anything he'd ever seen before in a robbery gone wrong.
Yeah.
But the LAPD as a whole agreed that this was the case, that this was a robbery, and that's why they pursued the case.
No, guys. Now, I'm here to tell you it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
And although the investigator said that they conducted hundreds and hundreds of interviews, they never asked to speak with Sherry's own sister, Teresa, who was at the townhouse the day before Sherry was killed. They never spoke with her neighbor, Alan Charsky, who lived 20 feet away and was there right after Sherry's body was discovered. And they never spoke with her close friend Jane, who knew of somebody that Sherry was having problems with.
Damn.
They did, however, speak with John and with Sherry's parents, but they did not interview the one main person that John had told them about, Sherry's parents had told them about. And they treated Sherry's parents terribly when they pushed the point of speaking to this same person. Now, why wouldn't they want to speak to this one person? John's ex-girlfriend, Stephanie Lazarus.
Oh,
Why wouldn't they want to talk to her?
why not?
Most likely because she was one of their own, an LAPD officer. A rookie at the time, but one of their own, no less.
Oh.
Now-
that whole we protect our own.
Mm-hmm. Sherry's parents actually pushed the LAPD to speak with Stephanie because, like Sherry's close friend Jane, they knew that she was having lots of problems with this woman. Sherry's father, Nels Rasmussen, called Detective Mayer the day after his daughter was killed and wanted to know if they had spoken with Stephanie yet. He emphasized some of the issues that Sherry had been having with this particular LAPD officer recently, recalling 4 separate occasions where Sherry was made uncomfortable by this woman.
What?
So the first was when Stephanie stopped by Sherry and John's townhome to see if John could wax a pair of skis for her.
Are you fucking kidding
Like,
me?
what? Now, this was shortly before Sherry and John's wedding, and it was pretty obvious to Sherry that Stephanie wasn't there for the favor she asked for. This was about more than just skis.
Yeah.
And also, like, was that a euphemism?
Well, I'm like, what the fuck?
Weird.
Like, who asks that?
I don't
You're
not
also
me.
in LA.
Yeah, like, what
What
the
the hell
fuck?
are you using skis for? You go unless you're going to like Big Bear or something. Like, where are you going?
Weird. Sherry was like, this is
Something's
like,
weird.
fuck off.
Yeah.
She knew that this was about lingering feelings.
Also, go away.
Yeah, like, get out of my house.
Don't come to our house asking my soon-to-be husband to
No.
wax your skis for you.
I can promise you that those skis would be so far up your ass
Yeah.
and protruding out your mouth if you
That's-
asked my husband to
that's a
wax
no
your
for
fucking
me.
skis.
That is a no
Like,
for me.
maybe I can actually say husband.
My husband.
Not yet. But, so after Stephanie left, Sherry told her soon-to-be husband just that. She was like, I'm uncomfortable with Stephanie being in our home,
Yeah.
and I would prefer it if you didn't take care of those skis for her. Like, this
Yeah.
is a weird situation.
You have every right.
But John was like, no, nothing's going on between us. And our relationship never got that serious. He said they simply dated in college, and he just felt like it would be easier to placate Stephanie versus getting into something
I
bigger
think
than
John's just telling the
necessary.
truth.
Yeah, it's always good to placate somebody instead
tell
of
him the
just being
truth.
upfront and honest.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, definitely. If you're ever in a situation where it's like, should I placate this person?
Right.
Or just be honest?
Yeah.
Definitely placate them.
That's
that
the
always
thing.
ends up great.
This also tells me that he knew that Stephanie had a wild temper. Because
Oh, yeah.
if you're worrying about getting into an argument about with somebody because you're not going to wax their skis,
Because your fiance is uncomfortable with it?
like, I think most people would understand that.
Yeah.
But clearly she's not somebody who was going to.
Something's up here.
So Sherry hoped that that would be the last time she saw Stephanie, but as we know, it was not. There were more occasions, 3 more. Stephanie stopped by the house a few days later to pick up her skis, and Sherry made it clear on that occasion that she was not welcome within the house. This all happened outside, which, like, high five, Sherry. She assumed that this would be the last she saw of Stephanie. But again, it was not. Just a few days after that, John had already left for work, and Stephanie showed up in uniform a bit after he left, at the townhouse. And she told Sherry that she was on a break and just wanted to stop by and say hi to John, but she didn't expect Sherry to be there. Usually Sherry was at work at this time.
Ooh.
At that point, Sherry started to wonder if there was something going on between John and
Yeah.
She usually come over when Sherry had already left for work and John was still home. Or was this her entire intention, to make Sherry feel that way when it simply wasn't the case?
And that's the worst too, because your first initial reaction is always to get mad at the other person instead of directing it at the person you're with who you're supposed to trust.
Right.
And it's like, this must have been hard to just be like, okay, which one is it?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
is it her being crazy and overbearing and like trying to cause issues, or is something else happening?
Exactly. Exactly. So John maintained that this was not the case. There was nothing going on between him and Stephanie.
Then why the hell did she feel comfortable showing up in the middle of the day to have lunch? Why would she feel comfortable? John.
Yeah, John. So now finally one last uncomfortable interaction. This one is the fucking crescendo.
Oh no.
So just a couple days before Sherry and John's wedding,
Stop it.
a couple of days before the wedding, Stephanie stopped by Sherry's office, provocatively dressed,
Stop it.
and pushed past Sherry's secretary to tell Sherry that she and John were very much still romantically involved and that Sherry shouldn't trust her husband. She then elaborated and said that if she could not have John, nobody would. Wow. So remember,
Oh boy!
to Detective Mayer. And do you want to know what his response was?
No, I don't even know where he is. I don't know where
Whose
he is.
child was murdered yesterday that he watched too many cop shows on TV.
Are you kidding me?
Nope, not only did they tell him he watched too many cop shows on TV, like all of the other investigators would lean over him trying to intimidate him. Like they treated this man like an idiot.
What the fuck? And it's also like, okay, how many cop shows have I watched that have a female cop threatening another woman? Can you point me to those ones? Like that I'm coming up with this?
I don't think I've seen
Like, what the fuck are you talking about, you idiot? You're the one watching too many cop shows,
Right.
sitting here trying to intimidate the parent of a murder victim.
Like, I'm just telling you what my daughter told me before her death. And like, yeah, I know you want to think this is a home invasion, but I'm telling you about multiple experiences she had with an unhinged woman. No matter whether she works at your department or not, she's fucking unhinged.
There is a bite mark on this woman.
Right.
You gotta give me a page list of home invasions that were home invasions.
Actual
that
home
ended
invasions.
with a bite. And not murders, not like serial killers,
Home
not
invasions.
anything, not domestic disputes. I want straight up home invasions by an actual stranger
Exactly.
that ended with a bite.
No.
That is like animalistic.
Oh, absolutely.
That
This whole
shit
attack was animalistic.
Because if you really put into your head a visual of somebody biting someone, especially
they're
after
dying.
they've been beaten
And shot 3 times.
the rage, they have to look like an actual wild animal.
Oh,
Doing
absolutely.
that. Like it is an actual terrifying picture to have in your head.
How did this woman lose 2 fingernails?
No.
Not in a casual home invasion. Like, I'm sorry. No. This was exactly what you said.
Oh, I'm so
animalistic.
angry
Me too.
for her parents.
Absolutely.
Like, fuck these people.
And the fact that, and we know this, like, no spoiler alert, it takes over 20 years to get to the bottom
That's
of
awful.
this. And they were door after door after door after door slammed in these poor people's
That's fucked
faces.
up.
It's fucked. So as far as the detective was concerned, it was absolutely out of the question. It was a robbery gone wrong, or somebody who wanted to hurt John and Sherry personally. John had previously told, if you remember, Detective Meyer to talk to Stephanie. He literally said, like, you might want to talk to Stephanie.
Yeah.
But at this new time, he told the detective he didn't actually know anybody who would have wanted to hurt the two of them personally.
Except for Stephanie.
Exactly.
Because she literally said it.
She straight up said
She
it.
literally threatened her.
It is unclear whether or not Sherry shared those last 2 interactions with John. So if she didn't, perhaps that's why he didn't think to bring up Stephanie again.
Okay.
Just playing devil's
Possibility.
advocate, we simply don't know.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
So Sherry's parents flew from Tucson to LA to meet with the detectives in person once they realized that their concerns were not being taken seriously. And when they arrived at the station, Detective Mayer showed Sherry's father 2 sketches of 2 possible suspects that they thought were responsible for the murder, and also for a string of robberies near Sherry and John's home. As for all your dirty clothes and all the
Skipping it, eat. Skipping it, eat.
or looking to breeze through the security line.
But when Johnny's ex-girlfriend entered his apartment a few days after he was cremated, it was obvious
that Nels had been shown, then they were big guys, and it was near impossible to think that Sherry could have fought off even one of them for that long,
2 of them.
without sustaining more injuries. It was
Yeah.
completely preposterous. And for another thing, how about the cause of death? If this truly was a robbery gone wrong, then wouldn't the killer want to get away as fast as humanly possible? You would think that 1 gunshot would have been sufficient. What kind of burglar would fight somebody off for an hour, shoot them once, and then take the time to look for a blanket to quietly shoot that person
Yeah.
twice more.
No.
And again, at what point would they bite their victim?
And that blanket trick, that shows a little familiarity with shooting a gun.
Absolutely.
To me.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know a lot of just like, I mean, I don't know any home invaders, but I'm saying
That's
like,
good.
not that I know of at least, but I also like, I don't think they come in there thinking like, well, like I could use this to muffle this. Like they're not.
No.
Usually home invasions, if they're there to rob, they're not looking to hurt someone. They're not looking to kill someone. They're there to intimidate if they have to, but to get the shit and
That's
get
the
out.
thing.
That's the main goal here. It's not to kill someone silently. That's not the goal.
That's the point. Like later on, the DA says, like, why not just fire one shot even in the air and then run away? Like
Yeah.
that's probably what they would have done, or even fire one shot at the person and run
Exactly,
away.
and run.
They're not going to take the time to find a fucking blanket to shoot
her
them two more times and then bite her.
Yeah, no.
What?
No.
What? The evidence just was not adding up to being a burglary, but unfortunately, it wasn't really adding up to anything. And after the initial round of interviews and a couple of weeks following up on evidence, there weren't any leads whatsoever.
Probably because they weren't following up on the correct evidence, I would say.
That's exactly that. But at some point, they packed all the evidence they had into boxes and put the case on shelf. Technically still an active investigation, but at this point, a cold one. So years and years and years went by. And then in 2001, a new unit formed within the LAPD. And it was dedicated to cases that were, yes, still technically open, but hadn't seen activity in years. So there were thousands of unsolved cases dating back to 1970.
How
Thousands.
sad is that?
Isn't that so sad? And that's at one department.
Yeah.
Like, imagine throughout the world how many
yeah.
unsolved cases there are. Countless.
Absolutely.
So sad. But within that caseload was Sherry's case. So her case landed on the desk of Rob Bubb toward the end of 2000.
Bub?
Yes,
I love that.
I know that he's like Rob Bubb. Spoiler alert: he's like the hero of the
Oh,
story.
thank goodness. Okay,
And
Detective Bub.
The fact that, that's what I start calling him, Detective Bub, and every time I wrote it, it was making me so happy. I felt like Bubba was like,
Bub would do that as a detective. She would be the hero.
absolutely
That's very
would.
true.
So yes, it was about 22 years after the murder that Sherry's case landed on his desk.
Wow, 22 years.
Crazy. And at first, nothing really significant jumped out at him. But then he saw the note about the bite mark on Sherry's arm. And back in 2004, he realized within the case that an error was discovered related to the evidence in this case. After Lloyd Mahaney's 4-hour examination, you remember, he drove the evidence, including the swab done on the bite mark, down to the coroner's office. Well, somehow it was never delivered to the LAPD Scientific Investigation Unit, and instead sat on in a freezer at the coroner's office for 18 years.
Are you shitting me?
Never even made it to the LAPD at all.
Wow.
Sat in a freezer for 18 years.
Wow.
However, once that error was discovered, the evidence was tested. And while the saliva from the bite mark didn't match anybody that the LAPD had in their criminal system, it was determined to be a woman's saliva.
I knew it.
I
knew it.
So Detective Bub went back to the suspect list and looked for a woman's name. There was only one name on that list. Stephanie Lazarus.
Oh shit.
Who was now a high-up detective within
knew
the
it.
LAPD.
I knew it.
And not the rookie that she was in the 80s.
I knew it.
Now, Detective Bub did not know Stephanie personally, but he knew her name well enough. She was very, very well respected in the force. She had gone to UCLA with John, and then joined the LAPD right out of college. And she'd done a really good job impressing her superiors and made quite the name for herself. In 1996, she got married to another officer. Later, they adopted a daughter together. And Stephanie was described by friends as intelligent, athletic, good with people. She was very logical and analytical, which are two objectively good skills for detective work.
True.
She was known to drop off sweet treats to her neighbors come holiday time. She'd also been very active within community policing initiatives. She was involved with DARE. She had internal roles on the police force. She actually served as treasurer of the Los Angeles Women Police Officers and Associates. Whoa. And worked briefly within internal affairs. Back in 1993, she was promoted to detective, and in the late 90s, she actually worked as an instructor with the police academy.
This is horrifying.
It's the most, like, it's insane.
This is horrifying.
And she was also part of a new two-person force. She was one of 2 people on this force investigating art thefts. She'd actually gone out of her way to learn different painting techniques and other aspects that would help her solve these cases and recover previously stolen artwork. Essentially, she seemed very far off from being a cold-hearted murderer.
Yeah.
And all of that made Detective Bub nervous.
Yeah.
It was going to be a big deal for him to investigate a fellow detective anyway, but somebody as well regarded as Stephanie? Yikes.
Oh no.
But at the same time, he still wanted justice for Sherry and was really more worried about his investigation on Stephanie flying through the rumor mill that was the LAPD.
And that's how sad is that he was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
like she definitely did it, but like
right.
this is gonna be a problem.
Exactly.
Like, no.
Right.
If the evidence points to her, then this shouldn't be a problem.
That's the thing.
But it's true that it would have been.
Not only was he worried that it was going to fly through the rumor mill and get back to her, but he was also worried that somebody else would become involved and try to protect Stephanie, whether it was legal or not.
Can you
Which
imagine?
tells you that this does happen.
Yeah.
Like, if he's worried about that, there's a precedent that's set.
That should never be a worry.
Never.
It should be the evidence is pushing this way. We're gonna pursue it.
Exactly. But his concerns were entirely different because it seemed like at least one person had already tried to cover up Stephanie's involvement in the original. According to Mark Bowden from Vanity Fair, quote, "The case record suggests that one or more persons during the initial investigation and continuing through the next 10 years were not just disinclined to consider that one of their own had murdered Sherry Rasmussen, but actively conspired to hide evidence that might have proved it. For one thing, all of the records in the Rasmussen file pertaining to Nell's suspicions about Lazarus, and even the interview with John the day after the murder, where he discusses Lazarus with Meyer, are missing."
What the
Excuse me,
fuck?
Mayor, are missing. There are audio recordings and notes of every other interview in those first days, which was standard operating procedure, but there are none for the ones where Lazarus was specifically mentioned. End quote.
Can you imagine being so broken
Absolutely not.
as a human
I won't
being
even imagine it for a second.
that you would help cover up a crime like
No.
this
No.
against a woman who did
Nothing. Literally nothing. Married a man she loved.
Not even that there's a justification out there for that.
No.
But this is like, I just want your husband.
Yeah.
And I'm just mad that you, like,
And when you
What?
really break it down, you're covering up the murder because you have the same job.
that's so wild.
It's like, okay, so like people that work in human resources, do you feel compelled to cover up crimes for other people because they work in human resources? No.
no.
Where else does this happen?
Like,
Other than politics.
Like,
Like, that's
what?
insane.
It's a,
Because you have the same job. Like,
It
when I was
makes
a
no
hairstylist, I promise you, if I thought that one of my other fellow hairstylists has murdered somebody, I would not be defending them.
no.
I would not be planting anybody else's hair at that crime scene.
No.
No, 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 no.
No, 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 no,
We might
no.
have the same job, but we do not have the same integrity. I've got some.
That's the boom.
I've got
I like that.
some.
I've got.
I've got some integrity.
That felt like very Real Housewives.
I
At the end.
want to be on the Housewives like so bad. So bad. When I turn 50 maybe.
There you go.
Oh,
That's your time to
dreams.
shine.
I was gonna try to come up with like a 30 flirty and thriving, but with 50.
50, thrifty,
No.
and
Anyways.
thriving.
There
And
you go.
thriving.
50 on the Real Housewives and thriving. But anyway, this is fishy as fuck.
It's just fucked up.
Like, what
It
the
really is.
You like people went out of their way in this case to cover up for somebody simply because she was a cop.
Yeah.
Like
I can't.
I know, of course, that's not going to make your department look awesome if there's a murderous cop on your
course.
squad. But also at the time, she's a fucking rookie anyway.
It's also not going to make your department look great to cover up a murderer.
Yeah, it's a
on your department.
lose-lose,
Yeah.
but at least you can win in the fact of justice.
And if you guys all came forward and said, well, the evidence points to this and we follow the evidence because that's our fucking job,
it'd make you look
I'm sure
real
a
good.
lot more people would be like, wow, integrity, good job, everybody.
Exactly.
Instead of being like, hey, sorry, we covered it up because for as we just slim jobs we.
If you're still alive, listening to this, fuck you. If
Yeah,
you were
that's
involved in
shitty
that.
as fuck.
Fuck you. All of them. Detective Bob just got crafty.
Hell yeah, Bub did, right?
There were and he was also their supervisor, so he was like, I pretty much trust you. And so he called on them to do an outside investigation. The team was made up of Pete Barbara,
Got that
and Mark
bitch. Got that
They were
bitch.
the only
Got that
people with
bitch.
any information about this investigation, which they did outside regular work hours. And they all made up cover stories in
Come here,
case
bestie.
anybody asked why they were suddenly
Wow.
so interested in old DNA evidence.
Oh my god, that's badass.
They also encoded their notes on the investigation and had a code name for Stephanie Lazarus, which was number 5.
Number 5.
I don't really know why. And they kept all the
Just,
information
chime
regarding
bomb
her specifically in a
Chime
separate
bomb.
binder that only they had access to.
Wow.
Fucking badass.
That's crazy.
Now, in all honesty, they actually weren't super confident in the beginning of this investigation that they had the right suspect. But then a literal smoking gun fell into their laps. They found within Stephanie's file that there was a record showing that just 2 weeks after Sherry Rasmussen was murdered, Stephanie reported that her 38 caliber backup pistol was stolen.
Oh.
Stolen, you say, Steph.
Oh.
As we know, that was the exact gun that Sherry had been killed with. And interestingly enough, Stephanie decided to file this report in Santa Monica, even though she worked for the LA department. Weird.
Yeah, that's strange.
Very clearly, she was going out of her way to avoid suspicion.
Of course.
And she had clearly gotten rid of that gun because she had to, because she used her cop gun to kill someone. Get away with this for so long. Yeah, it's so fucked up. The detectives then looked over the notes on the scene, and it became clear to them that this was staged, or at the very least, it was all happened within the struggle of everything.
Yeah.
Nothing about the scene, as we've said 400 million times at this point, made sense in the context of a robbery.
No.
Sherry and John lived within a gated and very busy condo complex. This was broad daylight and during hours that people would be out and about and heading into work. And even if they had decided to ignore all of that, these home invaders, why would they take the time to get in such a wild fight with the homeowner instead of just firing the gun, like I said earlier, and dipping?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. And if these were like the home invaders that the cops initially were trying to say they were, they had a ton of robberies like this under their belt. They wouldn't go and rob somebody at 9 a.m.
Yeah, it's like
that's
why
the
are they
dumbest shit.
totally breaking what has been working for them?
Exactly. Exactly. So at first, they were simply trying to rule Stephanie out as a suspect, but the more and more investigative work they did, the more and more confident they became that one of their very own was responsible for a senseless murder and had spent the last 22 years cosplaying as somebody who was supposed to protect the community and pretending like she wasn't a cold-blooded murderer herself.
Wow. She was just like at the dinner program, hanging around with kids. Wow.
And her name only showed up in this investigation one time.
That's
One time.
shocking.
But they knew that Sherry's parents had been adamant that John's ex be looked into. But these investigators re-looking at the case didn't know if John's ex and Stephanie were the same person. And they weren't going to be like, hey, did you ever date a guy named John
Yeah.
whose wife got murdered? Because that'd be kind of obvious.
Yeah.
So instead, Detective Jim Natal placed a call to Sherry's father and asked him about his original statement that he'd made to the police about looking into John's ex.
Meanwhile, he's like, hi, yeah.
Oh, he must have been absolutely elated to get this call.
Validated. Like, jeez.
He still didn't know the woman's name, but he knew that she was a female police officer. Boom.
Boom.
So this investigative work took about 4 months, but by the end of those 4 months, Detective Bug's team was sure that they had their prime suspect. But the problem was, pretty much all of their evidence was speculative. No actual smoking gun here.
Yeah.
Sort of, but no actual one.
Yeah.
And in order to prove this case, they knew that they were going to need physical proof or evidence.
Yeah.
But they knew that the swab test from Sherry's bite mark injury proved that the attacker was a woman. And so they figured they needed to prove that that woman was Stephanie Lazarus. So that meant that they would need to collect a sample from her. But again, they didn't want to raise suspicion on her part.
I'm getting comfortable because this is getting. I'm like, ooh, what are they gonna do?
This is
What's gonna happen?
just absolute best. This is
Ooh, I love that.
So in May of 2009, Detective Bubb went to his commanding officer and arranged a meeting with the deputy chief at the time, Michael Moore. In that meeting, they laid out their entire case against Stephanie, and Moore authorized the use of a special internal affairs unit,
Hell yeah, he did.
which meant that an undercover police officer was now going to become involved and follow Stephanie into a Costco.
Okay.
You know, the land of free samples that nobody can pass up.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you know, just like the rest of us,
This
Miss
is brilliant.
Stephanie Lazarus also couldn't pass up a free sample.
I mean, no one can pass up those free.
no,
like,
but
come on.
just like the rest
Come
of us,
on.
I said.
Wow.
Her sample of choice was a drink.
It was a drink.
So she used a little straw and a little cup to sample
she
that
did.
drink, and she's like, and then she tossed that straw and cup into a nearby trash
my
bin.
God.
And as soon as she walked away, that undercover officer skedaddled right over to that trash bin.
I bet he did a little soft shoe over to that. I'd be so excited.
Oh yeah, yeah. He did a little boop 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 boop. He bebop a loop.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then he brought that directly to the lab where it was not put on the shelf for the next. Oh my god. Ring-a-ding-ding. The criminalist at the lab was able to develop a portion of the cup and the straw. And you know who it was a match for? It was a match for Stephanie Lazarus.
Hey.
It was at least the woman who committed Rasmussen, but
Guys,
it was time to bring Stephanie Lazarus in for some questioning.
Let's get that bitch
Spring,
in.
spring,
It's buying some bulk fucking items. Like she did
Let's
murder a woman 2 decades ago.
Like, talk about having skeletons in your closet.
I'm just like, holy shit. The amount of people in that Costco that just walked by her buying a 20 pack of rice and had no fucking clue that she is a savage murderer. Oh yeah, to the point of biting the victim.
What's that statistic? We walk by like a third time something, a third to two or something. Like at this point, you and I have walked by at least 5 murders. Crazy.
But I'm just like, you just think about it, you're like, it was like the Golden State Killer. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, just going about her
Oh, yeah.
day, just going to Costco.
She got married. She was able to adopt a child.
She was someone's mother.
She was somebody's mother. She worked in DARE. She was somebody's DARE officer.
Yeah.
She said, "Don't do drugs and don't kill people." I did, but like it's okay.
But don't do it.
but you
Yeah.
shouldn't. Yeah.
Wow.
So she was brought in for questioning on June 5th, 2009. And that morning before that was a pretty typical one for Detective Lazarus. Until she arrived to work at the LAPD's administrative building, Park Center, in downtown LA. She was getting settled for the day when Detective Dan Aramillo poked his head into her office and asked if she could help him with something.
Oh my god, this must have been really fun to do.
Oh yeah, she agreed, and he explained that they had somebody at the station who was under arrest relating to an art heist.
Ooh.
And he asked if she would be able to interrogate the suspect, you know, with her incredible knowledge of art and heists.
Hell yeah.
I'm sure the flattery went straight to her fucking ego, and she agreed. And Detective Aramillo directed her to the basement, where the holding cells are located. But instead of taking her to a holding cell, he took her to an interrogation room, where there was no suspect.
Oh my god, I love this.
But instead, his partner, Greg Stearns, detective. And so they said, Steph, can you sit down? And she said, sure.
Small sprite.
And then Detective Aramillo explained to a confused Detective Lazarus that he had taken her down there because he didn't want to create a scene upstairs.
Oh my god, you know she knew.
Oh, she was
You know she knew.
shitting herself.
As soon as she walked down there and didn't see a suspect, you know her brain went, they got it.
Oh, because she absolutely thought that she had gotten away with this
Oh my god.
every single day for the remaining 22 years that she had to get away with it. So she had follow-up questions, but the other detectives were not answering them. Instead, they told her that they were assigned to a case and they wanted to know if she knew a man by the name of John Rutten. And she told them that, yeah, she went to school with him. She met him at the dorms at UCLA, but nothing really more than that.
UCLA.
Yeah, excuse me, UCLA.
Yeah.
Now, she was getting slightly standoffish, and she clearly was becoming more and more suspicious, but she was still maintaining a professional and friendly demeanor. So they asked her a few more questions about John, and finally she was like, what is this all about? So Detective Aramillo explained that it was about John's wife who had been murdered, and he said, did you know her? And at first she said that she may have met her, but then as time went on, she knew all about Sherry. She'd actually met her on one occasion at least, knew where she worked, knew actually that she'd been murdered in some kind of a burglary gone wrong scenario.
Wow.
I broke.
That escalated.
It did. She also said at first that her and John had casually dated, but then as she got to talking more and more, she said to the detectives, I'm thinking that because he would date other people and I would date other people, I think at one point he may have been dating her. I don't know. Maybe he was married. I don't even remember. And I'm like, why are you calling me if you're dating her, or living with her, or married to her? I honestly don't remember the time frame. I'm like, come on, knock it off. But now I'm thinking, I may have gone to her and said like, hey, you know what? If he's dating you, he's bothering me. I think we had a conversation about that, 1 or 2, maybe. It could have been 3, but I don't want to say that I had 3 conversations with her or whatever. Ma'am. Ma'am, this is
Okay.
a interrogation room.
This is not a Wendy's.
No.
Like what the fuck did you just say? I feel like what was the answer to the question? Was it in there?
What?
Was it? First it was no, then it was I don't know if I knew her, then it was I might have known her, then it was okay, you might have been married to her, perhaps, I don't really know. Maybe we had a conversation about it, maybe we had 3. I don't really want to say that we had 3.
Yeah. What? And I was all like, oh my god, if he's married to you, then he's bothering me.
He's bothering me.
Suck my dick.
What the fuck?
And they told her that this was all just part of the job, but if she would be willing to provide a DNA sample for... So then Detective Aramillo just laid it on her. He was like, yeah, we processed... My god. Now, Detective Aramillo then noted that some of Sherry's friends had concerns, and some of Sherry's family had concerns, because they believed that Sherry and Stephanie were having issues relating to the John situation.
Oh, there's always a John situation.
Yeah, there is, unfortunately. But she kept going with the so long ago, can't remember act. So then Detective Aramillo just laid it on her. He was like, yeah, we processed the scene and originally the evidence, but like, you know, DNA and all, you know the long way. Now we can. Yeah. So it was becoming clear now. Stephanie knew what they were hinting at, and they told her that this was all just part of the job, but if she would be willing to provide a DNA sample for them, then it would kind of rule her out, you know?
It would rule.
It would rule.
If she could just give them a DNA sample, that would rule.
It would not drool. It would
No.
rule. But it would be of her drool. So, she wasn't really interested in that or speaking with them anymore, and she told them, I just can't even believe it. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm really shocked that someone would say that I would be doing this.
Yeah?
Maybe because you like did this.
You really shocked?
And then she told them that she probably needed a lawyer, and with that she walked out of the room. But she didn't make it very far, because Detective Aramillo walked out of the room too, and he placed her under arrest for the 1986 murder of Sherry Rasmussen.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a day at the job that was.
For everybody.
Truly for everybody.
Yeah. So now, since she was under arrest, they were able to get a proper DNA sample, which made their case even stronger. The first Costco sample definitely confirmed their suspicions, but this second sample sealed the motherfucking deal.
I can't believe this matches the bite mark.
Oh, it's insane. According,
You can't get out of that.
Oh, just listen to this. According to the Deputy District Attorney Shannon Presby, the results of the DNA test found that the odds of Sherry's killer being someone other than Stephanie Lazarus were 1 in 1.7 sextillion.
So you're saying there's a chance.
That is 17 with 20 zeros.
It's a lot of zeros.
Many. So with that, Detective Lazarus was now headed to trial.
Bye.
Bye, bitch. In early December 2009, she was indicted for the murder of Sherry Rasmussen, and the DA, the one I just mentioned, had attached special circumstances of lying in wait and murder during the commission of a robbery. Stephanie pleaded not guilty and was held on $10 million bond until her trial.
Wow.
And her lawyer, Mark Overland, did file a motion to have the charges dropped, claiming that, quote, the Los Angeles Police Department investigators were negligent and showed reckless disregard in the investigation of their colleague.
Wow.
Like, we shouldn't investigate people who are simply colleagues.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Now, no. This referred to Detective Bub and his team's secret investigation, but the Superior Court judge found that her rights had not been violated by the investigation and that she would stand trial for murder. But they were going to take the death penalty off the table because the Superior Court judge did find that the special circumstances attached to the case were inappropriate. They didn't fit. So the trial started in February of 2012, and the DA argued that Sherry's death was not the botched robbery that the initial detectives believed it was, but was instead a straightforward case of jealousy and passion gone terribly wrong.
This is wild.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. John and Stephanie had indeed met in college in the beginning of their relationship. Things weren't that serious, but in 1981, after their graduation from UCLA, he and Stephanie had been romantically involved dozens of times.
Oh, come on.
However, he was clear with Stephanie that this was purely sexual and he had no intentions of making her his girlfriend or even his wife. In John's mind, this was 100% casual. But in Stephanie's mind, no matter what she said after Sherry's murder, she had serious feelings for John that led to serious feelings of jealousy directed toward Sherry.
That's why you don't cheat on your spouse.
Yeah, exactly. Well, up until this point, he hasn't. He wasn't married when they when they had sex. Up at this point.
Oh.
But when Stephanie found out that Sherry and John were engaged in 1985, she actually called John and begged him to come over to her house. She also wrote a letter to John's mother in August of that same year saying, quote, I'm truly in love with John, and the past year has really torn me up. I wish it didn't end the way it did, and I don't think I'll ever understand his decision.
Wow.
So, when John finally did agree to meet up with her, she declared her love for him, she begged him to please choose her, she said what they had was so much more special than anything he could ever have with Sherry, and that they were the ones who were supposed to be together. But John told her no, he loved Sherry, and he was going to go ahead and marry her. But he still had sex with Stephanie that night.
Oh, come on, John. Are you kidding me?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
This sounds like my ex. It really does. Either way. This sounds a lot like that.
It sure does.
It really does.
It's like, what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah,
You're
it's like,
sitting
come
here
on.
ending things with her and then having sex with her.
While you're engaged to someone else.
What is wrong with you? Like
come on,
you can't
man.
do that. That's gonna muddy all of the waters it could possibly muddy.
Obviously, it's on nowhere near the same level of what Stephanie is doing, and by no means is it a cause and effect situation.
No.
But it's a situation.
Search and destroy.
I hope I don't suck this game.
Got movement.
Remaining. Seconds remain.
Yeah. Watch left side. Watch left side entrance. Over there, Crescent. Watch that.
Ten seconds remaining. That round. Get ready for the next one.
Damn, get no scope.
Search and destroy. Brother 1, set security on the objective.
Actually, I haven't used it since.
Upside B.
UAV standing by.
His middle. I fumbled that so hard.
Seconds left. Victory secure. Be ready to win again.
Why are we up 2 buttons?
Buddy, your fucking balls haven't dropped. Stop talking nice.
Search and destroy. All Strasser, defend the objective.
First, my balls have not dropped.
Right outside B.
Remaining.
I was just an ordinary high school. Do you remember?
Fuck this dude. Fuck this dude. Fuck you.
Anyone else close to us again? We swore that we would always
He's
be there for each other.
all the way other side. One guy is I don't know what's.
No matter what happens, I promise that I'll protect you.
They've planted the Bravo.
Shut the fuck
We
down.
lost that round.
Get out of your
ready for the
spawn.
next
Shut
one.
up. Get out of your spawn.
Shut the fuck up. You
Get out of your
dumbass.
spawn.
Your
Stop
mic
sitting
here.
in corners.
Shut the
Get
fuck
out of your spawn and stop sitting in corners, okay? Do that for me.
Shut
Do
up.
that
No
for
one
me.
was in spawn. Tell me
No
who
one
was in
gives a
spawn.
fuck what you think.
Shut up.
Side.
No one cares what you think.
Shut up, buddy.
Search and destroy. Strasser 1, set a charge on the target and detonate it. We have the device.
I'm scared. Like,
Copy. UAV orbiting the AO. Recon is online.
Quick fix online.
Dead. One on A.
UAV is being refueled. RTB at this time.
At A, on your left, I see. On your left, I see.
You have secured the bomb.
One's good.
Planting bomb at Alpha. You've won that round. Get ready for the next one.
Hey, Red Bear, how's Icy's ass tasting? Yeah, keep your fucking mouth shut, pussy.
get more kills and then maybe we talk to you.
Search and destroy. All Strasser, plant a charge on the target and destroy it. Bomb secure. Seconds left.
Sitting on top where bomb is, don't walk in there. On right side.
Damn, you suck,
Are you ready
dude.
to win again?
Hey, what happened to stop keeping spawn? Hey, keep your fucking mouth shut. The whole team was in spawn. Shut the fuck up.
Shut up, bitch.
Dude, buddy, drop your ball.
Search and destroy.
It's all good.
All Strasser, detonate the target to win. Start your offensive.
I would love to grab by his throat and beat his face in.
Copy. UAV orbiting the AO. Recon is up.
We have secured the bomb.
Be advised, UAV is exiting the AO.
Oh my god.
1 minute remaining.
The last one's up top. Last one's up top.
We are planting at Alpha.
Yeah, up there.
All Strasser devices set. Stand by to detonate.
Red Baron, go watch. There it is. Right there.
You won that round. Get ready for the next one.
Buddy, stop using voice changer. You're not fucking and your team's
Switching sides.
Go ahead and back out.
Search and destroy. All Strasser, secure a perimeter area. Friendly UAV on station. Vessel standing by. Friendly counter
Oh,
on
my
station.
teammate, dude.
bitch.
Dang, imagine having 2 kills the whole game. Yikes.
Hey, man, the whole game, you know? Couldn't be me.
Oh, that was not you.
You're a
That
pussy.
was 100%.
Couldn't be me.
You were
Couldn't
guys
be
in the
me.
back
You're
of the
a
spawn
pussy.
the entire time. You're 2 and 4. I
10,
thought you would come back. 2 and 4. 2 and
Such a
4.
fucking pussy.
Y'all ass.
Tonight,
My boy
try
Jimmy.
something new tonight. This drink got me feeling right. I'm about to lose my mind. You, me, and Hennessy, look what you did to me. You fucking so crazy, you twirling and spinning. My head keep on spinning.
That boy
My
was
legs keep on shaking, but my head
You
keep
said
on
what?
spinning. I'm out of my mind.
No,
Let's
bro.
keep on sipping. Let's make some babies and make it official. I feel you inside, no better feeling. I throw it back in you. You catch me drifting. Oh, you sit inside. You got me screaming. You got me yelling at your name. Ooh, I need you. You kissing my thighs. You didn't eat it. Pause for a minute, babe. I'm loving this vibe. Smooth like a
Nigga going crazy. Oh, what's it called? My friend said, he got me doing.
me Hennessy and you. Me Hennessy and you.
But he got me
Search and destroy.
Me Hennessy and you.
We have the
See
device.
the what you did to me, fucking so.
Alright.
Give us spinning car.
But where's my whole story over here? Okay. That's what I'm saying.
Oh! Wow, that scared the fuck out of me. And where's it go?
Better. Can I show my love for you?
This one.
Say I do, I do, I do.
This round is ours. Ready up for the next one.
No.
I do.
You said what?
Search and destroy.
My boy. Somebody.
Saber 1. Set a charge on the target and detonate it. We've secured the bomb.
I need backup.
Bomb secure.
Where you at? Oh. Damn, they changed it up. Damn. Yes, there is. Damn, you sniping it? Oh, you saw that? Yeah. Bro, tell me you saw that. I did. I see that. Damn, you in the tricks already.
We've secured the bomb.
Not your tricks, I'm in your thing already.
1 minute left.
How many kills I got?
We're planting at Bravo.
You got 6. Yeah, you got 6.
Device in place. Countdown started.
So now you going crazy.
We took a victory there. Prepare to repeat it.
0 kills.
Search and destroy.
Okay,
All Saber, plant a charge on the target and level it. You secured the bomb.
Oh, it's okay. So you have roll for me. You have roll if you see. Oh shit.
Friendly UAV online.
That was my kill.
Fuck that dude. Okay.
Friendly SAE launched.
Oh shit. It's about cold as shit. It's like really cold outside.
Planting bomb at Alpha. All Saber, device is set. Stand by to detonate.
Oh. Come on, Pete. Pete, dude. How you doing? Damn it, bro.
You good. He defusing. He's low.
Our bomb was defused.
Did you not?
We lost that round. Ready up for the next one.
Bro, I didn't even do that shit. Like, I got good, I said no, I don't.
Switching sides. Search and destroy.
I didn't even see him.
Saber 1. Set security on the hostile UAV in the area.
Damn. Whole squad was on me.
Fuck this game.
Damn, y'all don't.
We took a loss there. Let's not repeat it. Search and destroy. All Saber, defend the objective.
That boy using the McDonald's speaker. Nah. Right when I said that. It's all goofy stuff, bro. Oh.
No, I know that.
Yes.
Hostile care package deployed.
This nigga thinking about his fingers. No, it's like that. The white beauty.
It's down to you. We lost that round. Ready up for the next one. Search and destroy. All Saber, secure a perimeter around the objectives.
I just said go, he still killed me anyway.
This nigga capping in the window.
Enemy UAV overhead.
There was no
Quick fix. We took a loss there. Let's not repeat it.
Alright, I'm gonna have to step on my unit because it's probably my fault. It is my fault because I'm not contributing to this very moment.
Switching sides. Search and destroy. All Saber, detonate the target to win. You've secured the device.
Hey yo, chill.
I'm about to quit.
Bitch.
Damn.
Yo, that's some shit. Like. That's still the kills though.
Fuck, I'm 8. Damn.
This round is ours. Ready up for the next one. Search and destroy. Saber 1, set a charge on the target and detonate it. You've got the bomb.
Bro, the nigga camping right there with a sniper, bro. Hey, hey. Oh, man, I said, I swear to God, I'm sick. Damn.
You're all that's left. Finish it.
I like this blade though. Go crazy. I gotta do that. He's so good. Come on, bro, you got this.
Final minute.
How much time? 1 minute? Oh, you good? Man. Bro. Oh, man, I was about to say contacts is the weed.
Planting bomb at Bravo. Stand by.
Uh-huh.
Bomb planted. Set containment.
Man. I don't even use glasses, bro. I'm supposed to, but I don't even.
What the hell?
The enemy's defused our bomb. We lost that round. Ready up for the next one.
You're small, bro. It's tiny. Bro. I only have to play basketball, so if I play football, I go like hold it with a breadstick.
I felt that. Football.
Search and
It's
destroy.
not to have like a stick. I'm playing.
All Saber.
With the-
Detonate the target
I'm like
to
a
win.
wideout. I'm football.
Bomb secure.
Yo, who's over here chucking grenades, bro?
I had to hard scope.
Alright, you guys turn around, turn around, turn
I
around,
feel
turn around.
bad about it.
I know this. I don't know.
Come on,
Setting device on Bravo.
I'm playing this.
Yeah, bro,
Oh,
they're
shit.
right there.
I'm playing faster.
Device in place. Countdown started.
Run faster, you fucking shitty ass.
Come on, you
Bitch.
got that.
Hey, I know I got this. Stop playing.
Come on, do that dance. Do that dance. Yeah.
Stop playing. Bitch, smoke. Smoke out, bitch. Watch this. See them bitches? Stop playing.
Our device was disarmed.
No!
Mission failed. Return to base.
You guys sad.
Shut the fuck up, bitch. You're fat as fuck. Fucking bitch. Fat ass bitch. Niggas wrong with you, fucking.
Thanks for tuning me. I gotta go. I need some rest. I get some food.